All right, hey, my people, this is ERGJ, your certified financial educator. I'm here on Blab. I'm going to use this to upload probably to YouTube as well. Tonight, we're going to talk about the wealth formula and financial freedom. The wealth formula itself is it's a very simple formula. It's really not that very difficult to understand and comprehend. I think everybody knows it. It's very, very simple. It's basically you earn more and you spend less. But the reality, I believe, for many of us, is that we have to get to a place where we decide that we're going to live on less than we earn. We're going to live on less than we earn. Why? Because that gives us a buffer, that gives us some discretionary income, that gives us capital. And capital is what you need in order. In this capitalistic society, you need capital. Capital is very important. Capital can help you create wealth. The problem is that most people don't understand capital. The problem is most people don't understand capitalism. And what they do understand is debt, though. They know how to get into debt. And that is the opposite of wealth, right? Most of us are living in the opposite, in opposition of wealth, because we continue to sign up to agree to live in debt. So really want to talk about the wealth formula, living on less than you make. And a part of that philosophy, which is something that we taught to the kids at KidVest, is that a part of all that you earn is yours to keep. And the question is, what are you doing if you are in a position right now, if you are the individual who says that a part of all that I earn is mine to keep, and I'm going to keep a part of all that I earn? The question is, what are you going to do with what you keep? What are you going to do with what you keep? So you have to have a plan for your money. I know many people, we just don't like the budget. We hate that word, but we have to develop a plan for our money. And so tonight, I really wanted to take the time to really talk about the wealth formula, because it's very, very simple. Once you have decided that a part of all that you earn is yours to keep, that you're going to keep that, and then you have to decide what you're going to do with it, because what you do with it is that you learn how to make that money grow or make it work for you. And so one of the things that I'm thinking about doing 3 different modules for the children. One is going to be the 3 different types of income. I think that's important for them to know. The others are going to be net worth. I think it's important for them to know that as well. And there was one more thing that came across my path, and I was like, okay, I need to create something for that as well. Most people only understand one type of income, and that's going to be earned income. That's going to be linear income. That means that when you trade your time for money, right? That means that you work a specific amount of hours and you get paid for that work. Well, guess what? When you don't work, you don't get paid. And so most people, I would probably say 95% of people that earn income, they earn income that way. Now, that income also is the highest taxed income. So not only are you working long hours to get the income that you get, you're also being taxed the highest on that income as well. And that could be a problem, right? You're the working class of America, but you're getting taxed the most. That's the craziest thought. And that's the highest population. So the highest population of let's just say Americans who are working the longest hours are also getting taxed the most, and they are carrying America. But it seems to be that this small population of people, the people that happen to be the wealthiest in the world, they get taxed less and they make their money differently than the rest of the world. So the question is, well, isn't it kind of, if I'm a part of the 95% that's working long hours and getting taxed high rates, and high is relative, right? I mean, we're talking about 35% or something like that. It used to be higher than that. But the people who are making more money than me are working less hours and getting taxed less. Man, there's got to be something that they're doing or something that they know, something that they understand that possibly I don't understand. And they are in the position of, they've learned about how money works, and they've learned the wealth formula. The question is, have you? And so there's a couple things. I'm just kind of rambling today. I'm not going to say I'm rambling. I got some thoughts that I want to talk about, but I'm going to be picking up a place where I'm going to help people go from slavery to security to freedom, from financial slavery to financial security to financial freedom. And you got to kind of wonder, well, where am I in this place? Where am I? Am I in a place of slavery, meaning that pretty much a part of all that I earn is someone else's? In other words, you're in debt. You're a slave to some master. Your money is. Are you in a position where everything that comes into your hand, a part of it belongs to someone else? Or are you in a place of financial security where, your bills are paid, you don't really have many debts. A part of all that you earn is yours to keep. You learn how to save, you learn how to live a life of comfort, but you haven't gotten to a place where you live in a life of wealth. Or you want to get to a place where you have financial freedom, which means that now you have your money working for you, that regardless of whether you punch the clock or not, you still get paid. And you're taking advantage of some of the great tax benefits that you get here in America by understanding tax law. And you are in financial freedom. Like, you don't have to go to work. You choose to go to work because you want to be, around people. You like what you do. So I think the goal, and I don't know my goal, I don't know about everyone's goal, but many people's goal is to get to a place of financial freedom. But what I found is that what people want and what they're willing to do are two different things, two totally different things. They want financial freedom, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get that freedom. Because here's the deal when you say freedom. When you say the word freedom, what you're talking about is in order to be free, there has to be a struggle. Right? You don't get freedom without a struggle. It's just not given to you, right? I mean, any type of freedom that you're talking about, there's been some struggle to acquire that freedom. You had to overcome something. And in this particular case, when we're talking about financial freedom, you have to overcome your bad financial habits. That's right. Your bad financial habits, the bad financial decisions that, we make and we continue to make, not understanding that it's a bad financial decision if my true desire is to be financially free. So when I do have a little bit of extra money, when I do get that bonus, when I do get that raise, when I do get, that unexpected income that comes in, maybe that tax refund that comes in, what am I doing with it? What do I choose to do with it? So Tiffany, I see that you're here. I thank you for joining. And really, I didn't care who showed up because this is for my YouTube channel. But, when you get a raise or when you get a bonus or when you get your tax refund, what do you do with it? What is your plan for when you have some extra money come into your storehouse, come into your bank account, come into your life? Many people, they say, hey, the first thing I'm gonna do is pay off my debts. And they don't really do that. Typically, they take that money and they go do something that's going to help them feel better about, their life, whether it's to go on vacation, get a new car, buy a new purse, something like that. It's typically something that revolves around, hey, if I buy this, it's going to make me feel better. And if I feel better, then I feel good because I only feel better for a temporary situation. I only feel better right now. But guess what? Once that feeling better wears off, you still have to go back to reality of, okay, my finances suck. And I continue to make bad financial decisions in order to help me feel better about the bad decisions that I make. I think that's kind of what a lot of people do. We say, hey, I got a little extra money. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I'm going to go spend it so that I can feel better. I'm going to get me a drink. I'm going to go buy me some weed. I'm going to go, get a purse. I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to put some rims on my tires. I'm going to get a new phone. I'm going to get something new, bring something into my life so that I can feel better. And if I feel better, then I can temporarily forget all of the bad decisions that I continue to make as it relates to my money. Well, that's counteractive. That's counterintuitive to us becoming financially free. So again, if we want to go from slavery to security to freedom in our finances, then there is a struggle to get to freedom. You must go through a struggle to get to freedom. Freedom isn't given to you. And that struggle that we have to go through to each and every one of us individually and collectively is the struggle to overcome our bad financial habits and our bad financial decisions. It's very difficult to do because it's easy for us to go back to who we have always been. Whatever habits that we created, whatever vices that we have in life, it's hard to just say, hey, I'm done with that vice. I'm done smoking cigarettes. I'm done buying buying candy all the time. I'm done with it. It's very difficult to actually do. I mean, we can say it, but to actually say, hey, when I see this cigarette, I'm not going to buy it because this is more important than that cigarette. So here's my question. That's a good question to ask is, what's more important to you than your own vices? And when I talk about your vices, I'm talking about your financial vices. I'm talking about those little things that you continue to splurge money on that's taken away from your desire to be financially free, whether it's that new video game that you continue to buy that has no value. I'm talking about things that you buy that have no value, but they have value to you. You know, they make you feel good. I mean, whatever that is. And it's funny because people say you only live once, right? But if that's true, and we know that's true, you only live once, why not live the best life that you can live? And the best life that you can live doesn't necessarily mean you got to be broke every day of your life. No, that's not the best life that you can live. You only live once does not mean that I have to spend every dime that I have for comfort and for entertainment in order for me to feel good. Because I believe that if you had enough money to pursue your dream, you'd feel even better. What do you guys think? If you had the money right now in your bank account that you could just say, hey, the hell with this job, I'm going to go pursue my dream. I'm going to create the thing that's in me, the desire, the dream that's in me. How good would that feel versus the cell phone that you buy, versus the new Nikes that you get? How good would it feel for you to be actually living your dream right now because you financed your dream with the good decisions that you made over the bad decisions? So here's what I want you to do. If you're serious about financial freedom, I really want you to write down what that feels like, what that is like for you to be financially free. What is it that you could do if you were financially free that you possibly can't do right now? What is it that you would be doing if you were financially free that right now you just can't do because of obligations, responsibilities, bad financial decisions that you continue to make? Because I believe if you put this in front of you, if you say that, hey, here's what financial freedom looks like for me, and here's what it feels like for me, and here's what I would be doing if I were financially free, I think that would help us to stop making some of the bad decisions that we know we continue to make. Whatever that is for you, everybody has something that they just can't let go of, that they're just not willing to sacrifice just yet in order for them to be free. I remember for me, it was hard for me to let go of video games because I had grew up with video games. It was like that was my life, you know, playing a video game, beating it, and playing it till the sun came up. That was my life, right? But I realized that me continuing to spend that $50, $60 every week or every 2 weeks to get that video game was not helping me to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve financially. And then I said, well, hey, if that's $50 a week, that's $200 a month. What could I be doing with $200 a month? You know? And then I started to think about the things that I could do with $200 a month. One, pay off my debts, because those debts are things that I had signed up for and I accrued. Regardless of whether I got the video games or not, those debts need to be repaid. But then once the debts were repaid, that $200 plus the money that I was paying to those creditors, I could now use to start to fund my future. I could now use to begin to finance my dream. And so it was the decision that I made. Matter of fact, I saw an article about Ryan Broyles. I don't know if you guys know who Ryan Broyles is. Ryan Broyles is an athlete who I think he played wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. And he has decided that he's going to live like he makes $60,000 a year instead of $600,000 a year. And so I said, well, hey, what's the difference? It is possible. Yes, it's possible for you to live below your means, right? The way that you do that is called a decision. He's decided that he's going to live below his means. And so that's why I think it's way more important for you to control your expenses than for you to be worried about how much extra money that you can make. I think they both are important, but I think it's more important because I believe that you can control your expenses. You can't control how much money you're going to make. I can't control what type of tips that I'm going to get. I can't control who's going to buy my class today. I can't control, the sales that I'm going to make, but I can control what I spend today, right? I can control that. Guess what? I signed up for my expenses. I signed on the dotted line the house or the apartment that I'm going to live in. I signed up for how much I was going to pay for gas, food, and water. I signed up for my expenses, so I can control my expenses. The question is, are we controlling them? See, that's something that if we pray that prayer and say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and wisdom to change the things I can. Well, if you're asking for wisdom to change the things that you can, I am 100% positive that you can change your expenditures. You can change what you spend your money on. So the wealth formula, it's nothing new. I wanted to talk about it because this is what I teach kids, and they get it. They understand that, hey, number one, hey, I have to take care of my needs before my wants. Most adults don't do that. They take care of their wants and then beg, borrow, and steal for their needs. It's funny how you can say, boom, I need help with my rent when you just bought Jordans 2 weeks ago. You wasn't thinking about the rent 2 weeks ago. You was thinking that you was going to have the money to cover that rent 2 weeks ago when you bought the Jordans, but now you got the Jordans and you don't have money to pay rent, and you beg, borrowing, and stealing to pay the rent. Your priorities are out of whack, and that's on you. But now you want other people to help you to basically to take care of your bad financial decision. And I don't think it's anybody else's responsibility to make up for your bad financial decisions. So what was I talking about? So controlling your expenses, man. So how many of you, if I were to ask you this right now, and I know we got a couple people that are here, and this is an interesting thing. If I asked you this question, if I said, hey, how much did you get paid last week? You would probably be able to tell me. If you get paid every 2 weeks, you'd probably be able to tell me. If you get paid, whatever by commission, however you get paid. If I asked you how much money did you make last week, you would probably be able to tell me, oh, I made about $600 or whatever. You'd probably be in a good ballpark, or you probably know exactly because you looked at your paycheck or you looked at your bank account. But if I asked you, how much did you spend last week, you probably wouldn't have an answer. Now, isn't that interesting? I know how much I made, but I have no idea how much I spent. And we wonder why we're broke. I know how much I made, but I have no idea how much I spent. And we wonder why we're broke. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? You use mint.com, cool. You got an app that you use. Is that something that when you say you use it though, see, here's the thing. A lot of people got apps and spreadsheets and all that stuff, right? But are you actually tracking all of the time what you spend? Like, do you literally go in there and put in, I spent this, and this, or does it track from your, do you track your cash and your card stuff? Because sometimes Mint is tied to your bank account, right? So when some transaction comes out of your bank account, it goes to Mint. But are you also tracking your cash, expenses? And it's good that you have something that you're at least tracking. I mean, that's a good thing. Most people don't have that. So it's important that you know how much that you spend. Well, yeah, I think many of us, we rarely use cash, so that's cool. It's important that you know how much that you spent. And it's important to know where you spent it at. Because once you realize, okay, I've been to Starbucks 6 times this week, and I think I've had more than my share of coffee, then that may give you an indication of some place that you can cut back if you feel like you're spending too much. And so the formula is very simple, that you want to earn more and spend less. And you really want to spend less, especially if you can't even afford to live the life that you're living right now. See, many of us, we're at this $20 an hour job. We on $40 an hour expenses. You spent too much for lunch at work, right? So you probably, was it a week where you just decided, hey, I'm not going to prepare my lunch myself. I'm gonna eat out a little bit, and then you spent a little too much. So this wealth, this thing about wealth, man, the reason why I talk about it so much is because it's very simple, but it's very simple to understand the concept, right? But it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. Because what's easy to do is easy to do, what's easy not to do. And so when we get to a place where we're spending less than we earn, what that does is that gives us this gap called capital. And it's very important that we understand capital in a capitalistic society and how to use capital to grow more capital so that we can build wealth. That is the formula to have capital to use as a seed to generate more capital in order to build wealth. See, everybody that's rich isn't wealthy. There's plenty of people that make $1 million and spend $2 million. So just because you see someone in the limelight, just because you see someone that makes a lot of money does not mean that they're wealthy. It just means that they got a lot of money coming in, but you don't know what their expenses are. They can have a whole bunch of money going out. And this is why you see people, rich people, rich athletes and all that stuff. You see them go broke when they get done playing because they live their life like they were living paycheck to paycheck. And even though their paychecks had 1 million zeros behind them, they were still living paycheck to paycheck. And guess what? When the paycheck stopped, they looked at their expenses and said, oh, I can't pay for this stuff no more because I never had the money in the first place. So that's why whenever I see celebrities or how much money people make, it does not even faze me anymore, because I understand that just because you make a lot of money does not mean that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. It just means that you can buy some of the bigger, gaudiest things in your world, but it doesn't mean that you're wealthy. It just means that you're rich, and you could be rich today and broke tomorrow because you didn't pay attention to your expenses. You didn't make sure that you had a buffer. You didn't live below your means. You lived above your means. And this can go to the highest paid person in the world. They could be living above their means. But the lottery, you don't want me to talk about the lottery. The lottery is a whole different story. The lottery is about someone who has never learned any financial principles, who just came across a lot of money. And guess what? Because they didn't have any disciplines or any financial, and aptitude, they go back to living. Listen, if you are a person who has the education of a $15 an hour, if you're a $15 an hour net worth person, you've developed this education in this life to live on $15 an hour. If you get $100 million, guess what? In due time, you'll be back to $15 an hour. In order for you to keep that money, that means that your aptitude has to grow to the level of the income that you have coming in, or the level of wealth that you have. If you don't have that, a fool and his money will soon part. You could be a dumb rich person and be broke tomorrow. That's just how we see it all the time. What I'm trying to encourage people to do is to increase their financial literacy. Because once you know how money works, once you understand this thing we call capital, then now you can always make it work for you, regardless of how much you have, whether it's a dime or it's $10,000. You'll know how to make your money work for you. You'll understand the difference between earned income and residual income. You'll understand the difference between capital gains and regular taxes. You'll understand these things. So then you can start to be like, okay, well, what side of the fence do I want to be on? Oh, the other thing that I was going to teach the kids is the cash flow quadrant. That's right. That's the third thing. So the three things the three modules I'm going to put together for the kids is going to be the cash flow quadrant, the three different types of income, and calculating your net worth. These are things I'm like, man, if I'd have learned that when I was, in 8th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, my whole mentality about money would probably be different, because I learned something different. So those are things I'm gonna start teaching the kids. I do some programs for kids. I teach them about money because they'll listen. Adults, other than the three of you guys, we don't want nobody talking about this taboo subject called money. And it is a major piece to the life puzzle. Money is a major piece to the life puzzle. How you manage it is a major piece. And what my fear is that too many of us are spending minor time on a major piece of the life puzzle. We give it a little bit of our attention, a little bit of our energy, a little bit of our study, but yet it's a major piece. Every day that you wake up, you're going to you pretty much are going to be having to decide where you're going to spend some money, right? If you had to get on the bus, if you got to get something to eat, whatever, every day of your life that you wake up paying a bill, you're going to have to decide what you're going to do with the money that you've earned. This is why I think it's very, very important that we spend some time understanding, where do I spend my money? So it's good that you got, we talked about mint.com, and that's an app that some people have in order to help them track their expenses. That's a good thing. Hopefully you're reviewing those statements each and every week or every month or whatever, and really, really, really understanding where it is that you spend your money. And I tell people this, I say, if you show me where you spend your money, I'll tell you what you value. Show me where you spend your money and I'll tell you what you value. I don't want to hear what you say you value. Show me where you spend your money and I'll tell you what you value. If you value education, then some of your income, some of where you spend your money should be going towards your education. If you value self-development, then some of your money should be going towards books to read. If you value learning about investing, then some of your money should be going towards learning about investing. If it's not showing up in your checkbook, then I would say that you don't really value it. You value it with your mouth, but not with your heart. Evaluate with your mouth. You want to make it sound good. You want people to think that you have this great value system. But the reality is, where you spend your money at, where your heart, where your treasure is, there is your heart also. So show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what you value. Now, why do I say that? Because it's not for you to really show me. It's for you to look at it yourself. It's for you to say, hey, today I'm going to have an honest assessment with me, and I'm going to look at my expenditures. I'm going to look at my mint.com. I'm going to look at my checkbook. I'm going to look at where I spent my money last month in December or in January or whatever. And I'm going to really say, okay, what do I really value? And just look at it. Oh, I've been to Starbucks 15 times this month. Oh, okay, I value Starbucks. Okay. I've been to the strip club 3-4 times. Oh, I value the strip club. You know what I mean? Like, be real with yourself, because it's not until you get real with your finances that you can really change something. And you can really say, man, I don't really value that, but that's where I'm spending my money at. So, okay, well, I probably need to say I either have to come to a realization that I really do value that, or I need to check myself or check my bad self and say, hey, that's not aligning up with my true value system. And I don't think many of us do that. We can go to church all day long, but the reality shows up in black and white. Here's what you value. Yeah, you go to church every Sunday, but you're still at the liquor store every Sunday night. That's what you value. You value that fifth of Ciroc. Don't play on. And you know what I mean? Like, don't play yourself. That's what I got to say. Don't play yourself. I don't even know why I go in there, but don't play yourself. So look at your expenses. Look at your checkbook. Look at where you're spending your money and really determine, is this aligning with what I really say that I value? It really takes someone that's going to be honest with themselves and say, man, I know I spent a little bit of money here, and that's not really, is this helping me get to where I want to be? Is this really where I want to go? Is this really why I want to spend my time, my energy? I know I did it last month, but I'm having a reality check that this is not who I say that I am, but yet I continue to invest money in this thing, whatever it is for you. And I don't really, we all have vices. Let's get that right. I mean, we all got something that we ain't telling everybody. It's just what it is. But you can change that at any point in time. And I think that the way that you change it is to recognize what's really important to you. What's really important? Is your future more important to you than your past? That's a good question. Is your future more important to you than your past? Because if it is, then as you think about your future, will you continue to do some of the things that you've done in your past if they weren't productive, if they weren't getting you towards your dreams, your goals, and your desires? Is your future more important to you than your past? I think as you think about that, it'll help you to change some of your own ways that, for one reason or another, we just can't seem to, we can't seem to let go of our past. Some of it's tied to us, right? I mean, I know we have bills that's been around and we got to pay that stuff off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some of our habits that we know we need to let go. And so what are you willing to sacrifice for financial freedom, guys? What are you willing to sacrifice? For me, I had to sacrifice video games. For me, I had to sacrifice television. I recognized that it wasn't helping me. It wasn't doing anything for me. I was paying for it. But once I realized that I didn't need it, I didn't need television as much as I needed my freedom. So here's what I want you to do for me right now. Whatever that is for you, I want you to say to yourself, or type it in the comments below, I don't need this, whatever that is for you, as much as I need my freedom. Yeah, good activity for you. I don't need this, whatever it is, whether it's the TV, whether it's video games, whether it's smoking weed, whatever it is for you. I don't need this as much as I need my freedom. See, because I don't believe that you can just run away from something. I believe that as you're running away from something, you have to be running to something. And what you're running away from is your bad financial habits. What you're running to is your financial freedom. Does that make sense? Of course it does, because I said it. Of course it makes sense. So whatever that is for you, and if you don't want to write it in the comments, that's fine. But say to yourself or write it in the comments below, I don't need this, whatever that is. Drama, I don't need that. I don't need the alcohol. I don't need the cigarette, whatever it is for you. I don't need this as much as I need my freedom. Because here's the deal, guys, that once you get financially free, right? Once you get financially free, you'll no longer want some of the things that you have in your life right now. I'm telling you, you're a whole different place when you don't have these burdens that are hanging on to you. You're like, man, I feel free. I can go out and do whatever. Why would I sit here and watch this idiot box all day when I'm free to go out and explore the world? So that's a good one, Ms. McMillan. So as you think about that, man, I'm going to, one of the things that I do, I mentioned that I teach kids, but I'm going to start to roll out some of the things that I'm teaching the kids, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to do blabs on it, because it's still some things that the kids are learning that adults just don't know. So, for example, this past Monday, I talked to kids about the money system and how money is, all that the money system is trading value for value. Before we had, what we call the dollar bill. Now we have what we call a bartering system, right? And people barter. They trade services and products for services and products, right? So it's important to know that money is only a tool in order to continue to barter. So instead of me, if I don't have a service that I want to offer you in exchange for your service and product, I can give you a money, which will be a value of whatever your service and product is worth. And so now you have the service and product, which is a value that I need, and I have money, which is a value that I can get for your service. So it's still a trading of service for value for value. And that's important to know, right? Because once you understand that simple concept that money is, all that money is an exchange of value for value, then you can say that, hey, if I want to earn more money, then I need to make sure that I bring more value. Does that make sense, right? In order for me to earn more money, now why am I talking about earning more money? Because that's part of the wealth formula. You earn more, you spend less. So if you want to earn more, then that means that once you understand that all money is value for value, if I want to earn more money, which is a value, then I need to bring more value. Now, how do you bring more value? Well, the way that you bring more value through your product, your service, or your skills and abilities is that you become more valuable. How do you become more valuable? Well, there's the self-development, right? If you were talking about your skills and abilities, then you learn some new thing. That's why people do certifications if they're in IT, so they can have another skill or ability that can offer, which makes them more valuable. That's how people get raises, because the company feels that you're more valuable. That's how you get a raise. If you have a product or service, you might offer an additional, like for example, I do coaching, right? So I have a coaching package, but now I'm offering some accountability packages, making it more valuable so you have more access to me. I'm making it more valuable. And if I make it more valuable, then it's worth more and I can charge more. And people are willing to pay more because they see the value. I don't know why I'm going here. You understand that? So if you want to earn more money, right? You say, hey, I got to earn more money. If you're stuck on, hey, I got to earn more money. If you're just saying, hey, I've cut my expenses as much as I can cut my expenses, which I don't believe is true. But if you're saying that, and you say, hey, I need to earn more money, what I'm telling you is that if you want to earn more money, then you need to become more valuable. And if you need to become more valuable, I'm telling you how you become more valuable in whatever sphere of life that you're in, whatever career that you're in, whatever it is that you do, you can become more valuable. And if you become more valuable, then you can charge more, or you can attract more money, right? Because you're more valuable. You're bringing more value to the marketplace. So it's important to understand value. It's more important to understand value than it is to understand money. See, most people are chasing money instead of becoming more valuable, right? So they went and chased money by going to the lottery. They felt that they could overcome the whole law of money by hitting the lottery. So while they were doing that, investing in the lottery, they could have been investing themselves. So instead of getting a one-time paycheck, if they ever got it, which the odds were totally against them, they could have been forever getting an increase because they become more valuable to the marketplace. See, you can't get rich by demand. You can't get rich by demand. I mean, it only works for very few people. but you can't get rich by demand. You can't demand that you pay me more of a minimum wage. Why? Well, it was never intended for you to stay minimum in the first place. That's just a start. That's just like getting an entry-level position. It's called entry-level, get you in the door. Now, if you want to work your way up the ladder, because everything is a ladder for the most part, then you have to become more valuable. Once you get in the house, you start to learn how the house plays its game. You become a master at the game, and guess what? You get elevated. You get more money. You get a raise, whatever the case may be. You start to learn new things that puts you into different positions. Maybe you started here, but now you learn this and you saw that, hey, this is something I'm good at, and you start over in this department, which is making more money. Or maybe you're there, you learn all these things, you learn how the company works and how it operates, and you say, hey, I can start my own company doing this. You become a consultant. The idea of entry level, the idea of minimum wage was never intended for you to stay at a minimum. Why do people, it's not even a good question to ask, but it's insane that people would choose to live the minimum. I want to get paid more even though I want to do less. That doesn't even make sense. You know what? I don't want to work harder. I don't want to work longer. I don't want to develop. I don't want to grow, but I want to get paid more because I got 5 kids. Well, whose choice was that? I'm sorry, guys. This is just what I do, man. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm not trying to go there. I'm just saying, like, that was your choice, right? It's your choice. So now you're expecting people to make you special, make you a special commodity, right? You're wanting people to treat you as if you are more valuable than you are. That's why it's important to understand net worth, because if you truly understood net worth, you would truly understand your economic value. Not that you're not a valuable person, not that you're not a good person, not any of that. We're talking about straight up black and white. Are you in the red? Are you in the black? What is your value? What is your value to society from an economic standpoint? And quite honestly, the universe, it pays you your just due. The question is, are you settling for less than what you deserve? That's what most people are doing. They're settling for less than what they deserve. Why? Because they are choosing not to express or not to fully develop the value that's within them. They're choosing not to. How many of you guys know people that have untapped potential? You're like, man, this guy's a genius and he's still living at home with his parents and not working. Why is that? Because he's choosing not to tap into his potential. Everyone else sees it but himself, and he doesn't want to put in the work. How can you demand more money when you're unwilling to be of value to the marketplace? You know how to code. You know how to create all of this stuff, maybe some logos and business cards. You're this technical guru and genius, but every day you're sitting on your laurels. And everyone else is like, man, this guy's a genius. All he got to do is just put it out there and people are going to pay him, but he don't even want to put it out there. He doesn't want to put his value. He doesn't want people to see the value that he has and to bring it to the marketplace, and then the marketplace will pay him his just due in return. He'd rather rely on mommy and daddy to pay his bills than to be the man to, become who he has the potential to become. He said, a lot of them is frustrating. Isn't it frustrating? It's frustrating to see people that have the potential to rule the world. It's frustrating to see all these kings and queens that are living out here as paupers because they just choose not to take the position of royalty. It's a decision. You know what? It's a decision to be financially free, guys. It's a decision. It really is. It's a decision. Many of us have to say that, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being broke. And then at that point, they say, you know what? I'm not going to be broke another day in my life. And they don't just say it, because many people say that in church on Sunday. I'm not going to be broke another. No. It's not a chant. It's a resolution. It's a resolve that says, hey, I'm no longer going to be broke. And this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I'm not broke another day in my life. I'm willing to pick up the disciplines that it takes. I'm willing to learn about money. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure not only am I not broke, but my children are not broke another day in their life. And it's quite possible for me to do that because I know that if anybody else can do it, then I can do it. It's embarrassing that you'll see people that's making $10 an hour, $12 an hour, and they have found a way to be financially free. But people that are making $20 an hour, $40 an hour have not yet found that way. It's called the road less traveled. It's called the road less traveled, man. It takes a person that can say no when everybody else is saying yes to be financially free. It takes a person saying, you know what, I just can't afford to to go to that company lunch if the company ain't paying, because that wasn't in my budget. So I'll ride with y'all and I'll bring my lunch that I brought with me today. That's what we're gonna do, because that's my budget. And guess what? You guys ain't make my budget. I made my budget, and I'm gonna follow my budget. I made my budget. This is my plan for the money that I have coming in, my spending plan. How rude am I to myself if I don't follow my own plan? What kind of mess is that? But yeah, too much credit card debt. But where did that credit card debt come from, right? It came from a decision to say that, hey, I would rather have what I want now, even though I can't afford it. So I'll borrow the money to get it. And then I hope that I'll sign a contract saying that I'll pay it back. But when it comes later, I hope that I can pay it back. Right? It's a decision. See, it's sad that many of us fell into that trap, right? That we could live a personal life off of borrowed money, that I can build wealth off of borrowed wages. That's a bad trap. And it's possible, right? But it takes understanding leverage, and it takes understanding that when they talk about it, they're not talking about personal debt. They're talking about business debt. They're talking about investments, things that you do to grow money from a business standpoint, not from a personal standpoint. But see, most people don't know that. Yeah, hope is not a financial plan. Absolutely. That doesn't work. And so I wrote tonight that if you don't have a financial plan, then how do you ever expect to be financially free? If you don't have a roadmap, if you don't have a plan, you have no idea on how to reach this utopia or this destination. How do you ever expect to be financially free? If that's a goal of yours, it's not a goal of everybody's. But if it's a goal of yours, the first thing I gotta ask you is, do you have a plan in order to get free? So we have first to understand that financial freedom itself, to be free from something, it requires a struggle, right? So let's make that clear. To be financially free is gonna cause some struggle. It's gonna cause some sacrifice. So first you got to ask yourself, am I willing to go through the struggle to be financially free? And am I willing to sacrifice some of the things that I'm currently doing that has caused me to not be financially free in order for me to be financially free? Are you willing? That's the question. Are you willing? Are you willing to go through the struggle? Right? Because if I go through the struggle, you know how it's going to feel on the other side. And then two, am I willing to sacrifice? Why? Because if I sacrifice now, I'll have a greater later. Let me say that again. If I sacrifice now, I will have a greater later. And this is what feels so good when you see like a 60-year-old couple to go get that Corvette finally. And you're like, man, I want to make sure that when I'm 60 years old, I can start to realize some of those things that were on my bucket list that I always wanted to do or get or acquire, in my life. So, So Ms. Miller, that's right. You have to be willing to do what no one else will do today so that later you can have the things in life that others can't have. So that's the sacrifice piece. Are you willing to sacrifice? And again, for me, I had to give up video games. That put an extra $50 a week back into my pocket to go and take care of some of the things that I needed to take care of. I gave up television for a while. That gave me that extra $60 a month or whatever. And I never missed it at all. I just replaced it with like YouTube and things like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't really a losing anything. I didn't think about what I was losing. I thought about what I could gain. And so that wealth formula again is to earn more, spend less. But I want you to focus right now on spending less. What can you do to reduce your expenses? Do you know how much you spent last month? I know you probably know how much you made, but do you know how much you spent? And this can go also not only from your personal standpoint, but if you have a business. If you have a business, you have to know how much you made and how much you spent. That's the only way you're going to stay in business successfully for a long time. If you are in business, you got to know your numbers. So what we're talking about is having a business plan for our finances. The same way we can have a business plan for our life. And that's some of the things that I offer in the Future by Design. So just so you know, I've got a financial Future by Design coming soon. I'm working on it to make sure that we can get some of these concepts and help people walk through this process. So I'm sorry, Rebel, you asked, do you feel it's better to niche or to work in general, as in everyone needs what I have or do? Well, I think it's better to work in a niche, if that's the question. If I'm answering this question, I think it's better to work in a niche. Why? Because it's going to be easier for you to find your target, right? So depending on what you do though, right? So if you're saying, hey, I bake cakes, then your niche could be, my specialty is a pineapple upside down cake or a German chocolate cake. Everybody may not eat German chocolate cake, but you still can bake a red velvet cake or whatever. But your niche, your specialty is this. So that could work in your favor, because then now anytime somebody thinks about a German chocolate cake, they think about Rebel, if that's what you do. But I think that if you have a niche, you're working in a specific market that is targeting a specific people, and you can broaden your scope from there. I think you want to start niche and work your way out, then working general and then trying to work into a niche, because it'll take you a lot longer to find your specific target market if that's the case. So for example, right, in general, I can teach anybody about financial literacy, right? But general is way too big, because now I'm dealing with all different types of people from all different types of countries and languages and age groups and mentalities, right? So my niche is I teach kids about financial literacy. Not that I can't teach adults, I'm still going to do that, but I'm starting with my niche, which is the kids. They have a different way of thinking. They are in a different place as far as learning is concerned, and they're more like a sponge. So for me, it's like, hey, if I can get them early, then their parents are going to want to know what the children are learning, and then eventually I'll get the parents. But I didn't want to start with everybody. I wanted to focus in on the kids. And guess what? That niche market is big enough for everybody, right? Because almost everybody has kids. So it's not like I'm going to run out of kids to teach. You know what I mean? I can't run out of my niche market because everybody's got kids. So that's my niche. And that would be my answer. But it really does depend on what you do, right? Because I can't think of anything in specific unless you had an electric company or railroad or something like that. I don't know what do you do, Rebel? I know you're some type of coach, ain't you? Bodacious, self-awareness, self-esteem, right? So say, for example, with your self-awareness, self-esteem, and self-protection, right? And an author, when you wrote your book as an author, you probably had some market in mind that will buy your book, right? And I don't know whether, when I hear self-esteem, self-protection, I'm thinking of ladies, but it could be anybody. So although you could probably help anybody, you probably have a focus on a particular group of people that you really want to make a difference or have an impact in. So I'd imagine that, specialists can ask for more money, right? So that's the thing, right? So even in business, right, you can get a business degree and you can probably make some pretty decent money. But if you got a specialized degree, you'll be able to make more money because you specialize in some particular area. Same way with being a doctor. Yeah, you could be a general doctor and try to help everybody, or you could be a brain surgeon. And I only deal with fixing brains. You know what I mean? I only deal with surgery on brains, and that's what I do. And I get paid a whole bunch of money because I know how to, operate on a brain. So I definitely, the more specific that you can get, the more that you can demand, because you have a specialty in a particular area that would cause you to be more valuable in that area. And then again, the system of money is that you're trading value for value. So the more valuable that you become in one specific area, then the more that you can attract value, which is the money, for what you do. So that's how you earn more income. You specialize. Don't be a jack of all trades. Specialize in some area. So say I work realtors in safety and self-esteem, being willing to defend themselves necessary. Yeah, it can be a distraction, right? So you guys are talking about TV and Netflix and things like that. So tonight, man, I really wanted to that's really, I really want to go too long, man, but hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. I'll just talk, I'll just go. But the key things I want you to take away from tonight, man, is that, we're going to talk about distractions too. I'm going to talk about that. I don't know, probably next Friday. Cause I believe, we're going to talk about dreams and distractions probably next Friday. I'm big on you following your dream. But tonight, man, when we talk about wealth, the wealth formula and financial freedom, man, again, the key to wealth, the key to generating wealth, the key to building wealth is you first have to start with the seed. What's that seed? The seed is called capital. Okay, now how do you get capital? Obviously, we live in, not everybody, but in America, we live in a capitalistic society. So capital is your seed. How do you get that seed? Well, the easiest way for you to get that seed is for you to learn how to live on less than you make. That difference between what you're living on versus what you make, that becomes capital, or your seed that you can plant into the system, which would be the capitalistic system, in order to generate more capital. When you're generating more capital, you can now at some point get to a place where you have that money working for you, and now that money that's working for you starts to build your wealth. It starts to give you passive income, starts to give you portfolio income, these different types of income, which guess what? You pay less taxes on. So not only are you making money while you sleep, you're paying less taxes on this money, which means that you keep more of that money as well. Does that make sense? Of course it does, because I said it. So, all right. So, yeah, well, yes, that's what we're talking about, right? So if you don't have enough money, you can make more. You can always make more money, right? You can't always reduce your expenses. You can always make more money. Why? Because you can always become more valuable to the marketplace. You can always become more valuable to the marketplace. Again, the marketplace, the way that this set up is that we trade value for value. The more valuable that you become to the marketplace, the more value that you can demand, which that value would be a monetary value. That's the way the system is set up. So if you want to make more money, then become more valuable. Now, here's the problem with most people. Most people think that the way that I make more money is by working more hours. Well, you could work more hours, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are making the type of money or bringing home enough of that money in order to make the biggest difference for you to have what we call capital. Why? Because when you work more hours, right, then you now have to start paying that overtime, or you don't have the time to invest in yourself in order to learn how to make money work for you because you're always at work. You don't have time to do anything else. So I would say, I know that some people need to get a second job every now and then, but if you can make your second job be something that would give you a different type of income. So instead of you going to work at another job and then getting more linear income, which means that when you stop working, you stop getting paid, you start using your extra time, your extra job becomes something that you get paid differently from. Whether it be you working on your passion, you developing your business, you doing something on the side that you love to do, become more valuable. So we talked about this earlier. So what are some ways to become more valuable? Great question. So how do you become more valuable? Okay. Well, the way that let's think about this for a second, right? Whenever you were at a job and you got a raise, why did you get a raise? You got a raise because the company felt that you were a valuable asset. Well, what made you more valuable this year than you were last year? Well, you learned something new. You offered something different. You solved some problems within the company. Something stood out about you in order for you to get that 3% raise versus everybody else getting no raise or getting 1% raise. You became more valuable. You became a more valuable asset to the marketplace. So how do you become more valuable? Well, number one is called self-development. Self-development. You find something that you want to do or specialize in. We talked about specializing, and you go learn how to specialize in that, right? So some people are at I mentioned IT, and the way that they become more valuable is by taking new tests, become further certified or further specialized in IT field. That's a way to become more valuable. The more certifications that you have to your name in that particular field, you can demand more money. I remember when I was a forecaster, I did forecasting for a while. I was an analyst. Well, I need to I need to learn forecasting. I need to learn how to do shift bids. That was ways that made me more valuable. These were skill sets that people who made more than me knew how to do. So I said that in order for me to make that kind of money, then I need to learn some of these things that they know how to do. So I learned, so knowledge, obviously, educating yourself is a way to make more valuable. The three things that you have skills and abilities, and you have products and services. So maybe you have a product that you offer, right? And I mentioned this I have a coaching service. So I have a coaching service. In order to make my coaching service more valuable, I added on an accountability package. So now my coaching has now become more valuable with the accountability package, and I can charge more because it's a more valuable product now with the add-on. So add-ons are a way to become more valuable, especially if we're talking about an entrepreneur. We're talking about somebody that owns their own business. And then you have obviously your products and services. So if you are in a job, then the way that you become more valuable, you find out what it is above you, who's above you that's making more money than you, and what do they know that you don't know, and do you go learn what they know? Again, for me, I needed to learn Excel. I needed to learn how to do short-term and long-term forecasting. I needed to learn how to do shift bidding. Those were things that I didn't know at the time that as an analyst, like 1 or 2, was keeping me from making top dollar. Once I learned those things, I went from making $12 an hour as an analyst 1 to becoming a forecaster making $20 an hour, all because I decided to learn these things on my own. And that was only a matter of a year that I went from making $12 an hour to $20 an hour. And that, that's neither here nor there, but those are ways that I decided to make myself become more valuable. When I focused more on me than I did on the money, then the money found me. I think I said that right. When I focused more on me than I did on the money, then the money found me. So here's my question. As you think about what you need to do to become more valuable, what books you need to read, what skill sets you need to develop, what things that you currently do that you need to perfect, as you think about those things, the one thing that I think you have to ask yourself, I think this is an important question is, what am I willing to give up in order to go after these things? Because again, we're talking about financial freedom. Financial freedom is a struggle and it's a sacrifice. So you're going to have to sacrifice something in order to put in the time to make yourself more valuable. Because there's something that's taking up your time right now, whether it's sleep, whether it's television, whether it's too much coffee or too many, cooler talks or whatever. Maybe it's too much blab or Facebook, whatever it is for you. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to make yourself become more valuable? See, most people don't understand that in order to go through this journey, right, you have to spend more time on yourself than you do on your distractions, whatever that is for you. You have to spend more time developing yourself. If you spend more time on yourself, more time becoming more valuable, more time on yourself, developing yourself. And I know that, Jonathan, you're doing a lot in self-development, learning all these different things. You're becoming more valuable with all this stuff that you learn. I was just blown away by listening to your story. As you do that, then you can command, not demand, you can command more money. Again, you don't get rich by demand, but you can command more money because now you are more valuable to the marketplace in whatever scope is for you. Yeah, mine was sleep for a while too. I had to decide that, you know what, ain't no more sleeping. I didn't need 8 hours of sleep. And it's, it's certain days you want to get that extra sleep. But the question is how, when you think about that, you got to say, man, my success is way more important than my sleep. Well, everybody wants instant success. Well, what's instant success? What is success to you, Mr. Henry? I mean, that's an interesting statement. I'd rather have instant success. Most people would rather have instant success, right? But very few people have had instant success. Most of what we see as overnight successes for them has been years and years. It's not something that came overnight. It's something that we may see as overnight, but they've been putting in the work for years. They've been doing a lot of the free stuff. A lot of the speakers that you see right now, a lot of the comedians that you see right now. Guess how many comic reviews they've done without getting paid, how many shithole clubs they had to be in before they finally got recognized. So I don't really believe in instant success. I mean, it may happen. It's a very few and far between. And if it's instant, how long does it last? I've seen a lot of people make one hit song and not be around ever again, never hear them again. So I rather go the long journey and make sure that not only am I successful, but my success lasts a legacy and not just for a moment. That's just me. I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but when I think about wealth and I think about riches as well, I think riches are short term, wealth is long term, and I'd rather be in the long term game. So those are some ways I think that if you focus on, if you stop focusing on the money and you focus on how can I become more valuable? That's the question of the night. How can you become more valuable to the marketplace? What is it that you can do? What is it that you need to, what's the next step for you? What's the next thing for you to become more valuable? Maybe it's not related to your job. Maybe it's related to your dream. Maybe it's related to the business that you want to start. Maybe it's related to your entrepreneur journey. What is it that you need to do to become more valuable to the marketplace? If you become more valuable, I can guarantee you that you can command more money. Whatever, man. You just get stop. Man, Mr. Henry, you be always whatever. I'm not listening to you, man. Said I'm a millennial. I want it now. So what is something? And when I ask questions, guys, they're more like rhetorical questions, philosophical questions for you really to ponder on. It's something that you don't necessarily have to answer right now, but something that really wants you to think about. Man, what can I do to become more valuable? If I understand this system that we live in, this capitalistic system that says that money, all that money is that people are trading value for value, then if I want more value, which is the money, then I must become more valuable, which is myself. And here's a great thing about it, guys, that you can have more because you can become more. Again, you can have more because you can become more. You can always become more. Matter of fact, it's almost natural for you to become more. There's always a next level for your success. There's always a next level to the things that you can do. So you can always become more. The problem is most people get lazy, right? They get to a certain place in life. Maybe they finally graduated college and they feel like that's it. I've graduated college. I don't have anything else. They haven't. Here's the funny thing about college. Most people haven't learned how to leverage their degree. That's why they don't get a job. They haven't learned how to leverage their degree. They haven't learned how to sell themselves, right? They're thinking that the degree is going to sell myself. The degree is going to get me to my job. The degree is going to make sure that I'm employed. They haven't learned the art of selling themselves. They haven't learned the art of leveraging their degree. Matter of fact, if they were very smart, street smart, while they were going after their degree, they would understand that, hey, most people want some type of experience. So I'm going to use what I'm going through as far as, say you were going to go to school for, I don't know, art, whatever. I don't know. Give me something. Somebody's going to school for science, whatever, right? And they're waiting until they graduate to start looking for jobs. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? If you're going to school for science, then you could actually be using your time going to school to say, hey, job, whatever, job A, job B, I'm in school for this. I'd like to come and work for you so that I can learn how to apply what I'm learning right now. And I don't want to wait till I graduate, right? Guess what? If you do that, then you're more apt to get some type of job that's in your field. So then you can start gaining experience. So then when you walk out of college, you've got the experience and the certificate. That's what people are looking for. The most important thing that we want is that you know how to apply what you've learned. Not that you've learned something. A lot of people got knowledge up here, but don't know how to, don't know how to use it. So what's important is people want to know that you have wisdom, that you've learned how to use what you've learned, that you know how to use what you've learned. And here's what they don't teach in college. They don't talk about this stuff like, okay, well, as you're going through college and you know what you want to do, then we want you to start working on doing some of that stuff right now, even if it's from a volunteer basis, so that you can say that, hey, I've had experience doing this. Not that I know how to do it, not that I learned how to do it, not that it's up here, but that is in here. I can do it already. Well, yeah, but what does that lead to? So he said it's safe to just learn stuff and not execute. Yeah, well, what does that lead to? If you don't execute on the stuff that you learn, you'll find yourself broke. You'll find yourself not having a job. You'll find yourself wondering, why did I get, $400,000 worth of debt to get the certificate and I can't even use it? That's what happens. But I think that's a life skill, man. I think that that's something that's needed for people to understand, especially college people in college, to understand that you got to learn how to leverage. This is a financial term, but once you understand it, you can use it and apply it in any area of your life. Leverage. That's what that is. Leveraging. And I talk to people all the time, especially in coaching. I'm like, man, you got this master's degree and this and this and that, and you're not even using it you're not using that to leverage to make more money now so that you can have that money coming in. So then now you can use that capital to create the thing that you want to create. You can use that capital to finance your true future of what you really want to do. Because a lot of times we go through college and we realize what we don't want to do. But we got so far along the path, we just say, hey, let me go ahead and finish it. Let me finish what I started. Let me at least finish it. And then once you finish it, you want to leverage what you have gotten in order to get the income coming in. And once you get the income coming in, the capital, then you can use that capital to go and finance your future. Oh, okay. All right. So I don't know why I'm going on a tangent on that. Hopefully that helped. All right. So, yeah, do you think times are more challenging or less challenging for millennials? I don't think that they're more. I don't think it's more or less. Every generation will say that the next generation has it harder, right? You know, if you listen to your grandparents, they'll be like, oh, back in my day, it was such and such. They're going to say they had a hard time. And so I think that the time is the time, and that we're finding the challenges that we're challenging. I think they actually, it's kind of an interesting question, because I think on one hand, the millennials, they have more knowledge available to them than many of our previous generations. So they can actually be super educated about the things that they're walking into way before they walk into them, if they decide to do that, if people present them with that knowledge, right? I think right now millennials are in a place where many of them are self-educating themselves. So they're not waiting on someone to accept them into some college or whatever the old rituals were. They're saying, hey, if I want to learn graphic design, I'm just going to go learn graphic design. Ain't nobody going to stop me. And even if you don't accept me into your graphic design art school, I'm still going to learn. And guess what? When I learn it and when I apply it and when I start doing websites for people, guess what? Nobody's going to ask me if I have a degree in graphic design. They're going to say, you do nice work. Let me hire you. And they're going to freelance it. And they're going to be on Fiverr.com and all this stuff. So, I wouldn't say it's more challenging. I think it's more challenging for people that aren't creative. That haven't been pushed to develop their creative side, because now I think you have to be a lot more creative in order to make a living, in order to live the life that you want to live. I think there's no the old way of 40 hours for 40 years. That's not here no more. So you got to be a lot more creative in how you can live the life that you want to live. And the people that have developed that creative gene early in life, I think they have an advantage, but I don't think that it's more or less challenging. Each generation has its own set of problems to deal with. So that's kind of my idea, my thoughts on that. Well, the key there, I would say, is that, this is the information age, right? So that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? If you're a person that doesn't know how to filter out the good wisdom with the bad stuff, right? If you don't know how to determine what's real and what's fake, right? Because information, now, for example, somebody could put something up and it would be completely satire and everybody believe it. if you don't know how to decipher what's real and what's fake, what's right and what's wrong, what's good for you, what's bad for you, if you're not wise, then it can be overwhelming, right? But if you're a person that says, hey, I know what I want to do, right? I know exactly where I want to go in life. If you're a person that knows exactly where you want to be in life, then you won't, the things that don't pertain to your journey, you won't pay attention to. You'll be focused because you know exactly where you're going. So say you say everybody's a blogger journalist. That's right. So for me, for example, I'm obviously I'm a financial educator, right? So the things that interest me have to do with finance. So you don't really see me getting inundated with fashion. You don't see me getting inundated with all this stuff that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm interested in. So I just stay, I learned how to stay in my lane, stay focused. I may read something every now and then, but it's not something that takes a lot of, here's my piece, or here's the wisdom, or the, I don't know what I say to people. I say, don't spend major time on minor things, and don't spend minor time on major things. So whatever is major for you, your life journey, the things that you want to do, your dream, finances is major. The things that are major for you, that's where you want to spend a majority of your time. The key is determining what's major and what's minor in your life, your individual life. What's major? What's a major piece of your life, right? And what's minor? Things that are just minor, they're petty, that you think about it, man. People might not say anything all day, but they find one negative thing or one thing that's bad, and they'll spend a lot of time talking about it as if it's the whole world. They're spending major time on something that's very minor. Well, if we took the time that we had when we spent our major time on the things that's major being like things like studying, things like self-development, things like developing my business, things like learning how to invest, things like running my household, whatever that is for you. All of you guys know what's a major component of your life. What are the majors in your life? And many of us really don't know what the minors are because we never really separated what's major and what's minor in my life right now. Some things just do not require your energy or your time. Maybe information curation is the next growth area. You talking about investing? So yeah, but I think as a as an individual, as a millennial, they need to learn what's major and what's minor for them in their life journey, and not give the minor things that are part of their life a majority of their time. I think if everybody did that, then we would find ourselves walking we'll find ourselves walking in the arena that we are designed to walk in. Let me say that again. We'll find ourselves walking in the arena that we have designed for ourselves to walk in, because I believe that you can design your life. You say we do? We do what? I don't know that question. I don't know what that is. I think that we can. I don't know what that question is, Jonathan. So at any rate, guys, tonight I wanted to get on, man, and make sure I got this recorded and talk about the wealth formula. I know anytime I get on Blab, I just blab. Just know that I might go all over the place. So hopefully, you've enjoyed this time, man. But if you got any questions, you ever want, to talk about money, I know that many of you or many of us don't have. See, when I wanted to start talking about money, I have many people to talk about money with. That was one of the problems, right? But now I've started to create this platform, not just this platform, but I've created a circle of people who are interested in talking about money. So it's a lot easier for me to find people to actually have the conversations with that are open enough to talk about money. And Paris, I know that you had a question for me. I don't know if now is appropriate for me to answer that for you, or if we need to wait till Monday. I know we're supposed to talk on Monday. I think it was something to do with your 401k or IRA. But I'm working on a financial future by design. I've got 6 testers that I'm going to go through with, and this is basically to help them get their finances in order. This is going to be a project to. I've got a project called Future by Design, which helps people design their life for the next 5 years, and we're going to do a financial future by design. It's going to help people get their get their financial house in order in the next 5 years. So that's the big project I'm working on now. Also, this Saturday, not obviously today's Saturday, next Saturday, I'll be doing KidVest again, which is the program that I do to teach kids about money. This next one coming up will be the last time that I do one for free. So if you have children and you want your children to learn about money, then make sure you stay connected to me so that they'll know how to sign up for KidVest. It's going to be an online webinar. Last week or last time we talked about, last time we talked about the youth financial plan, what to do with $1. So I broke down for them a plan that they can follow for the rest of their life to make sure they're never broke a day in their life. How valuable would that have been for you if you were 5 years old, if you were 8 years old, if someone talked to you about a financial plan for every dollar that comes into your hand instead of waiting until you were 25 to first have your first financial plan? The stock market and world economy is horrible. So how do you make sure that people stay focused? Well, the stock market is always up and down. So if you are focusing on the stock market, so that's a great question. So people ask me this. So this is what I tell people, right? So I say, all right, so I think Paris, you have a 401k or IRA. And this was about 6 months ago. I told people, yeah, we're headed to a recession. How do I know? Because we can't always be going up. Listen, it's been a long, great ride with Obama in office. It's been long and great, but everything that go up don't stay up. Everything that goes up must come down at some point. So if you are in a position where you can't sell stuff, if you're in a 401k IRA, the strategy is for you to go more conservative. You've had a great time being aggressive and hopefully doubling and tripling your portfolio. Well, now you want to go, if you can't short, then you want to go conservative, which means you want to hit more of the cash positions, more of the money market positions. That's going to be it's not going to pay a whole lot, but it ain't going to lose you anything either. So you want to go a lot more conservative, because hopefully you built up your portfolio over the past 8 years that the economy has been booming in order to build up your portfolio. If you're in an individual positions, you're individually playing, well, you got a lot of options available to you. But still, you want to be, especially if you're looking at retirement, things like that, you want to get conservative, man. Yeah, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy no matter who goes in office, because no matter who goes in office, things are going to change. You know what I mean? Like, no matter who's in office, the focus of the American economy is going to change. And when the focus of the American economy changes, what they're focusing on as far as where they're going to, put their money, where the tax dollars are going, things that they're going to, stipend and surplus and all that stuff, that's going to change. So regardless of who's in office, it's going to change. And because we know it's going to change, well, we should be prepared for change before change comes. Don't wait till change happens to say, I'm going to make a change. We already know that change is coming. So why not change in advance? This is the common sense to me, but I don't know. I just speak common sense. Okay, I know change is going to happen. Regardless of who goes in office, I know change is coming. So if change is coming, I'm going to change before change comes. Does that make sense? So I've been telling people that I coach and that I provide services to. Okay, it's time to go a little bit more conservative. Yes, it might keep going up. You might miss a little bit, but I want you to protect what you already have, so that you don't lose what you've already accrued. Does that make sense? So when we talk about so when the American economy, we see what happens when America jacks something up, then the whole world follows it, right? We saw that in 2008. The whole thing with the housing crash, it was an American problem, but it turned out to affect the whole economy, the whole world economy, because America is the powerhouse, or it's if you think about the Dow Jones, you got Apple, which is the big kahuna. America is the big kahuna of the world economy. So when we start to falter, everything starts to falter, because everything is connected. It's all intertwined. You know what I mean? You're only as strong as your weakest link. So What do I see that's a change? I mean, we were already starting to see it. We're starting to see a lot of these overinflated companies that people have been riding to huge gains. We're starting to see them make a turn. Some of them coming back to true value, but a lot of them have been way overextended, way overbought, way overvalued. So we're going to see. I mean, we're not. I don't see us seeing. When you say a recession, see, here's the thing. Someone talked to me about a crash. Yes, China is a big issue. China is one of the major issues. So I don't necessarily see a crash coming, even though we're due for one, but I do see a huge correction. I see a huge correction in the market coming. I don't think that oil can be this cheap forever. So I do also see values in the market as we speak. If you are a person that's saying, hey, I can go and buy something and hold it for a few years and just live with it as it comes. Now I still see values in the market right now, energy and in oil. But yeah, I think we're headed for a huge correction. I'm a little timid when we talk about crash because everyone has a different idea of what a crash is. Someone told me today, say, hey, what do you think about Carrot Bar? She's talking to me about gold. And I said, well, it's great. Gold is great, but I'm not interested in owning gold. I'll own some companies that produce gold. I own some companies that can appreciate when gold, when gold appreciates. And she was like, well, what about, the currency, the American dollar and getting off, not being on fiat currency and eventually going to gold-based currency. I said, well, in my opinion, if that's going to happen, that would have happened in 2008. Well, why? I mean, I'm saying, like, why would it happen now? Like, the American economy, the American dollar is way too strong. It may lose some value. It may depreciate. It may correct, especially when we look at the forex markets. But do I think it's going to crash? I mean, to me, that's a big pill to swallow. Do I think Walmart signs are just an issue? Issues are just a sign. When you say a sign of Walmart is still a huge company. Walmart is making changes, as you may see. So when you say the issues, I don't think that they have issues like we may see them having issues, right? So they just talked about closing down some stores, right? Well, that's them trying, 140 stores, but I don't necessarily see that as an issue. You gotta look into why they're doing it, right? When we say it's an issue, it looks like an issue for us. Like, man, they're closing some stores, they're losing some employees or whatever. But what are they doing? Well, they've increased their minimum wage, right? And they're increasing it. I think it's a 3-year plan in order to increase their minimum wage. So in order to offset that, they're cutting down on their employment. Walmart already has too many stores, right? If you go down every corner, they got a Walmart like they have a Waffle House. And then they not only do they have too many Walmarts, they have big Walmarts and then they got small Walmarts. So we got to look at what their strategy is. Is their strategy, I believe, is to go smaller, for them to have more stores like a CVS than they do have the super Walmarts. They want to be in every community and everywhere and have less employees that they're paying at higher wages. And guess what? The less employees that they have paying higher wages and smaller stores, they can get to do more work. Walmart is pretty damn smart, man. So when I see them closing 140 stores, yes, it could be bad looking at it from the outside looking in, but I want to know what their strategy is. And I think their strategy is to consolidate. The shipping ports are seeing a lot less container ships and less freight. You're talking about from for everyone in general, for all shipping, all resource, for all imports. Okay. Does that mean that we're not producing our own? Well, yeah, it's definitely not good because that's international trade, right? But here's the thing, man. What else? We're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the Obama, administration, right? And Um, well, no, not necessarily. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily mean it's less order for merchandise. We have different ways that we buy merchandise now, right? So what if you decided that if you're as an individual, as a consumer, you decided I'm not shopping on Amazon anymore. I'm buying all my stuff from Alibaba. Does that mean that you bought less merchandise, or you just bought it from somewhere else? So do you really believe that do you really believe that the consumption of consumers has decreased? That people have really bought into the idea that, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop shopping. I don't believe that at all. I think there's some people that have realized I got to do something about my spending habits, but I don't think that's the majority of the people. You know what? I'm not going to have it. You know what? We're going to wait till Ticker Talk Tuesday to talk about this, because that means I'm going to have to start looking at a lot of different stuff. When we say they're being hit, I'm going to have to look at their financials to see if they're really being hit. I know that obviously Chipotle is the big one that's being hit, but if we're talking about everyone that's into the discretionary consumer discretionary industry is being hit, I would wait until March or April to see what their holiday numbers were looking like before I make that assumption. Because we're not going to see what happened with the holiday spending until the numbers come out in March and April. What right now, any numbers that you're seeing is anything before the holiday. We're seeing, June, July, August, and September numbers. We're not going to see October or fourth quarter numbers, October, November, and December. We're not going to see those numbers until their next earnings season. So I wouldn't necessarily, when I look at Walmart for their quarterly data, they just reported in January 30th, on January, they still increased. They had $485 million in total revenue, which is an increase from 476 in January 2014, 468. If I look at their quarterly data, in October they had 117 million in total sales. In July they had 120, so they dropped by 3 million. Not a huge. They're still in the ballpark. They averaging pretty much. But in January of last year, they had 131 million in merchandise sold. So I would be interested to see what they do when they report next, which is probably this coming week or next couple of weeks, if they bump right back up to 120 something million with the Christmas, with the holiday shopping. Well, we know. Come on, man. Retail sucks. If you are a brick and mortar store, Macy's, JCPenney, you're not going to be around that much longer. That brick and mortar is a thing of the past. This is not nothing new. This is not new information. People don't go to stores anymore to buy stuff. People buy stuff online. So if you don't have an online presence, how can you expect to compete? That's not new information. We know that, right? Doesn't everybody see that? I think that's common sense. I think that everybody can recognize that. Yes, they are major employers. So now we're talking about employment. Walmart closing 140 stores, impacted 160,000 people's jobs. Yes, that's a big deal for them to stay employed, to be able to continue to funnel money back into the economy. But every big company is always looking at ways of cutting costs. So does that mean that they are a major employer, but you also have you still have businesses that are being developed on a regular basis that employ people, maybe not on that grand scale. But we've also seen what the government does when they're really facing. If we were really facing a big issue in retail, right, the government would step in just like they did with the banks. Well, you're trying to gauge sentiment on retail. If we're talking retail, and we know we know sentiment um, the sentiment on retail. So that's kind of, so when you talk about overall sentiment, so sentiment on retail, when we talk about retail, we know that the holiday season should have been great for retail, and specifically for retail that has an online presence, right? So a Walmart has an online presence. A lot of people buy from Walmart.com. So you're talking about this. So you wanted the sentiment on the economy or sentiment in retail? Not retail, on the economy. Well, why are we talking about retail? Retail is just a part of the economy. It's not the whole economy. So my sentiment on the economy is we don't have to see the sentiment on the economy to see. We can see what the economy is saying, right? Because the economy is saying that, hey, if we look at the Dow Jones, oh my goodness, why am I sitting here talking about this? So we look at the Dow Jones over the past, let's just look at it for the past 3 months, right? We see over the, if we just look at it for the past month, we see that sentiment is telling us, we see that the Dow Jones has declined over the past month. We're now down to 15,900, 16,000. It's been up to 18, right? So what does that tell you about sentiment? That tells you that ain't nobody really excited right now. There ain't a whole bunch of greed going on right now. There's a whole bunch of fear going on right now. It's negative sentiment. Now, this is an indication of the entire market or a portion of the market, because we can really look at the S&P 500. We see the same thing, that the market is telling us that they're selling off. There's fear in the market right now. That's your sentiment. It's fear in the market right now. But guess what? It only really takes some good news in order to change that sentiment. But we've seen this sentiment coming. I mean, this is, I don't know. For me, it's not as if, I guess maybe for me, because I've been telling people to go conservative. I've been telling people that change is coming. I've been telling people, hey, by the end of this year, you really need to get into some safe positions. For me, this is not, I'm not shocked by this. This is not, I don't know. It's not something that scares me, because I saw this coming. I'm more in tune. I don't know about being more in tune. I just look at things and I say, okay, it's been 8 years of us, you know what I mean, rolling in the dough. That can't last forever. And my thing was, if it's going to change, when will it change? For me, the change is going to come when the president leaves, because to me, the change came when the president came. So for me, I was saying, hey, what's the thing that's connected to the boom in the stock market over the past 8 years? And it's been that Obama's been in office. So for me, I was saying, well, hey, if him being in office is tied to the stock market doing well, then for me, when he leaves office, to me, there are going to be some tough times. And he's on his way out. So for me, I was saying, hey, I'd rather be ahead of him going out than to be the person that's waiting on him to go out and see the stock market do what it's doing now. Because I just didn't believe that, hey, it's going to continue to rise when we know that a change, the head of our economy is leaving. That's a change. That's a huge change. This is like the CEO of some company deciding to go somewhere else. So for me, it was like, well, you can call it being in tune, but it just made sense to me that when he departs, then there'll be a change in the way that the market has been flowing. So I don't know. I was telling people a long time ago that, hey, you know, by the end of this year, you want to start getting into, you know, more conservative positions. Paris, haven't I been saying that? I think I've been saying it. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. So when you ask what sentiment, the chart tells you what sentiment is. It's been negative. Matter of fact, it's been negative since Christmas. We've been on a decline since Christmas. Now, that's crazy if you think about it, because you say, well, hey, everybody's all giddy in Christmas. Everybody's buying in Christmas. Everybody's feeling great, right? But again, these Christmas numbers, the holiday numbers for Christmas, they don't show until March, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like February, March. Right. Well, the whole stock market, Dow Jones, I'm talking at Dow Jones, they all kind of going, S&P 500. They've been down since Christmas. They've been steadily going down since Christmas. You see the SP 500 in Christmas time was about 25. They're currently at 18.8. I mean, this is some big drop offs. That's more than 10%. That's a 10%. That's a 10% change in a month, which is a correction, right? When we start getting past 10%, then they start calling it a crash. So we just corrected. We're correcting right now, but it'd be interesting to see what happens with especially with retail numbers. Well, yeah, you remember when that happened, right? You remember when China was having this issue. This is not the first time that China had a halt in their trading. This is not the first. This happened what 6-7 months ago that we had this whole sell off in China, and it's happening again. It's telling us that China isn't very stable, and China is a big player in the market. Think about all the Chinese companies that we tied to. So, right. Oh, look at you. You've been doing some research, Paris. Look at you. That's my little mentee right there, man. So anyway, guys, man, I don't know how we got into talking about stocks, man. I was talking about the wealth formula and financial freedom. And Mr. Minor Henry got me, he always trying to pick my brain. So anyway, so my same advice, man, is basic. It's no big deal. My same advice is the same. Go conservative. If you're not in a position where you can ride the wave down, where you can short some things and make some money on the way down, then go conservative. Stop being so aggressive right now. Right now is not the time to be aggressive. Let me not say that. It's not the time to be. If you know what you're doing, then you can be aggressive going after those great values that you see. But I definitely wouldn't be aggressive. I wouldn't be aggressively going long right now when I'm clearly seeing that the market is telling me to go short. I will be conservatively going long on values that I see. Again, for me, if you're asking me what value do I see, oil to me is a great value. I would be getting some oil right now. But I wouldn't be aggressively going long. You know what I mean? Like counting on the Chipotle return. That's not something that me personally, I'd be interested in trying to figure out when it's going to turn around, because they got some huge issues. This issue has been going on for a few months, and it doesn't look like it's stopped. And when you're talking about people eating and getting sick, that's a big issue for a restaurant. But at any rate. So, Paris, man, did you have a question? Or do we need to wait till Monday? By the way, it's cool, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. It's good to see that people, even on a Saturday night, don't mind talking about money. Don't mind getting on. I don't even know how you guys saw that I was here. I just jumped on all of a sudden and people started coming. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see that you guys are here. You'll wait? Okay, that's cool. It's personal. I got you. But yeah, man, so this is what I do. I don't know if I'm going to do this every Saturday or not. Y'all actually pay attention to my notifications? I feel special. I never know when I'm going to go on, man. I just, when I feel the urge, I jump on and I just kind of blab and talk. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying it. Tiffany, what's going on with you, my peeps? You got anything to say? I know you've been looking. You look like you knew to blab. Have you been enjoying tonight? You've been on Blab for 130 days. You don't have many followers. Do I know you personally, Tiffany? Or you look like you're following me. Is your first time following me, or you've been on one of my Blabs before? This your first time? Okay, you just started following me then. Okay, that's cool. Well, we cool. We cool then. So anyway, man, so I just wanted to get on tonight and talk about, you're going to see me talk about a lot more about finances. I'm going to use some of the material that I use to teach the kids. I'm going to come on and I'm going to just teach it to the people. Because here's the thing, guys. My goal this year is to find a way to get paid to do what I do, which is what I love to do, which is teaching people about money and specifically teaching kids about money. And I know the way to do that is I have to be consistent in putting myself out there and putting my service out there. So again, this Saturday coming up, if you have kids or know some kids that need to learn about money, feel free to follow me, and so you can know when I put the call out for people to register. And then also, if for some reason you're really liking what I'm doing and you happen to have a school, a church, or an organization that you feel what I offer will be good for them to look into, make the connection so that we can make sure we can reach as many kids as possible. Because like I said, man, if I was 6, 7 years old and someone had the guts to talk to me about a financial plan, I think that I would have made a lot better decisions with money as I got older. And that's just one of the things that I teach. I teach financial plans to the youth. I did that. I've taught them about compound interest. I'm going to teach them about net worth. I'm teaching them about the cash flow quadrant. I'm doing all that stuff. Matter of fact, I was just asking today, what do you guys think about this? I want to do a what do I want to do? Oh, I want to do, somebody going to have to help me with this though, because I don't have any kids, but I want to do something on the cost of parenthood. I realize that one of the issues that we have with our youth is that we're having babies having babies. And I want to do this special presentation to the teens, so hopefully I can help prevent, or I can promote abstinence, because I don't think that people actually think about the cost, what it costs to actually raise a child. And because of that, we're seeing babies having babies and more babies, and then relying on the rest of us to help them raise their children. So I don't know. I'm really thinking about that. And I want to include in this, what child support costs and what garnishing wages is. Like, this is the kind of stuff that people need to know. I think this needs to be part of the talk, that parents have. I want to be that financial part of the talk when they have that sexual education part of the talk, if they still have those talks with the kids. What do you guys think about that? You said no thanks. Abstinence, no thanks. You don't like abstinence? You don't think abstinence is important for children? You think they should just fuck everybody? Okay. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about kids. Think kids should start fucking when they're 12 years old and have a baby when they're 13? You think that's that's good for our economy? Monty, I'm sure you're playing with me. I know you're messing with me. But anyway, I thought okay. Hey, I don't mind having a conversation, but I'm just saying, I just thought it was a good idea as a way of, I don't think that people are presented with the cost of, of having a child, regardless of whether they fuck or not. I don't care. But I think that if they are conscious of, man, this could lead to me spending this kind of money when I don't even have it already, it may hopefully, it could help. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. It could help. And that's all I want to do is help. So I'm thinking about putting that together and rolling that out, whenever. Because I've got some organizations that they really focus on the teens and trying to keep them from being single parents at a young age, because, they're not getting married. They just fucking and having babies and trying to figure it all out at 17 years old. Or 16 or 15 or 14. It's kind of crazy. So that's just kind of a special place for me. Well, that's fine. I mean, I promoting sex education, that's, that wasn't the point. The point was my point was rolling that out so that they understand the cost of having a baby. If you fucking and you ain't creating no babies, I'm cool with that. If you educated on how to keep from producing when you're in your mood. All right, y'all going a little bit too far. Anyway, I just thought I'm thinking about putting that together. So I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to think about what really to include in that as I try to tackle it from a financial side, not from a whether you should fuck or not or whatever. Wear a condom, all that stuff. Kids cost money, yeah. They're a blessing, but sometimes because of our decisions, they become a financial burden. They're still a blessing from God, but they're a financial burden. They can be a financial burden if you haven't counted the cost. And how many people, if you have kids, how many of you guys have actually thought about the cost of having a kid before you had them? Whether you are married or not, whether when you had your first child, did you really sit and think about, man, how much is it going to cost to take care of this child before you actually had it? Some of us just kind of walked into it and just figured it out as we went. But what would it be like for you or for anybody to kind of think about or kind of have some idea of the cost of, well, that's why I don't have any either. I'm like, okay, I can barely afford myself, let alone. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking about doing. So those are the things that come down the pike for me. Well, you know what? I hate when people ask that question. You know what? I'm not going to answer that question because that's going to open up a whole nother conversation I want to have. I hate when people think about the return. Are you talking about the return on your taxes? The return that you get back from the money that you've already paid? You talking about that return? Like, listen, if you're a taxpayer and the only reason you're looking at a refund or return on taxes on the investment of having them, again, I think that they can, again, I said that they're a blessing, but they can turn into a financial burden if you haven't counted the cost. So absolutely, I think that having kids is great. Like, I mean, it gives you something to live for beyond yourself. I mean, that in itself is a blessing. It gives you hopefully gives you some inspiration to do better, to have more, to create, to do for them. For most people, when they have children, they what? Monty, I'm done with you. So anyway, so those are the things that are coming down the pike, man. We got KidFest coming up this Saturday. We got the Financial Future by Design, which I'll be rolling out soon. We're going to continue to have these talks about money and wealth. People seem to be responding to this, and they're really liking us talking about this major piece of the life puzzle, which is money. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. When I do it, you guys, if you guys are following me, you'll get the notification. I'll let everybody know. I may not let you know in advance because a lot of times I just do this just off the top. I just do it when I feel like doing it. And that's the beauty of being free. You can do things when you feel like doing it. And people that are able to join, they're able to join when they're able to join. So if you got any questions about finances, you got any questions about your personal finance, if you're saying that you need help, you can always reach out to me. And I know that someone asked about, making a donation to the program of KidVest. I'll make that available soon. I've got a couple of things. I do a lot of things with it. One is actually do teach at a library as well. And it's interesting when I teach at the library, not a lot of black kids coming. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what we can change about that, but I probably get 1%. Everybody else that brings their kids, it's white and Asian. And it's funny thing is they're sitting there taking it all in from a black man. So maybe if they see some black people talking about money, maybe we'll get more parents to sign the kids up. I don't know. It'll happen. Just keep doing it. Yeah, that's another topic. So anyway, guys, so thanks so much for tonight, man. I will be back. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Let's build as we climb together. Talk to you soon.